Something that's been on my mind lately that I'd like to talk about is the rise and fall of CGI. Because make no mistake, CGI has fallen a lot.
Oh my goodness!
Whether it be in movies or television, the visual effects of recent years seem to be lacking a certain quality.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Most, if not all of us, have noticed that visual effects, or VFX for short, have steadily been declining in quality across the television and movie industries for the better half of a decade now. And don't just take my word for it, go back and look at the movies that were coming out 15, 18, 20 years ago. Then compare that with the vast majority of films that are coming out today. The drop in quality is undeniable, which begs the questions, how did we get to this point, and how do we get back on track? In this video, I aim to answer those very questions. But before we dive in, I quickly want to ask you to please like the video, and if you enjoy my content, feel free to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to be notified when I drop my next video. I also just started my own Patreon because, as I mentioned in my previous video, my whole channel was demonetized by YouTube, which means I can't make any money off these videos that I put a lot of time and work into. So if you'd like to really support the channel, check out the link in the description or the pinned comment in the comments section. Either will take you to my Patreon, where you can sign up for one of my 4 paid tier options. The lowest tier is priced at just $5.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's about the cost of a fish fillet at Mickey D's. Not to mention, all money goes back into the channel, whether that be a better mic or editing software, etc. My eventual goal is to earn enough to hire an editor to help me ramp up production speed on my videos so you guys get more content from the channel. So for the price of 1 fish fillet, you could support your boy and help me get closer to that goal. So again, I'll put the link of my Patreon down in the description and pin it in the comments section. So feel free to check it out. And again, even if you guys don't, I still want to thank you for your support. And now on to the video. So to understand why visual effects have failed to impress audiences in recent years, we first need to explain what exactly CGI and VFX are. CGI stands for computer generated image. Basically, a CGI artist uses a computer program to create digital images that can also be referred to as 3D animation. Examples of this would be Pixar's Finding Nemo and The Incredibles, or DreamWorks' Shrek and Kung Fu Panda. Now, VFX is an industry term for visual effects. VFX and CGI are very similar in the way that both jobs are usually done by the same artists, but there are some subtle differences between the two. Mainly that computer-generated imagery, CGI, is a style of animation or illustration that relies on computer programs to create characters and motion. Visual effects, or VFX, focuses on adding effects to existing imagery or film. VFX existed long before computers were being used in the film industry. VFX at the time was a process in which footage was manipulated in a way to insert, remove, or alter footage in post-production. Old jump cuts and stop motion are great examples of this.
With arguably the first ever special effect, the substitution splice. A filmmaker would start filming a scene. Then they'd stop the camera and start shooting again from the same position with a new person or object added to the frame. This effect made it seem like something or someone appeared out of thin air. Director Georges Méliès used a substitution splice in many of his on-screen illusions, such as this one in 1896's The Vanishing Lady. Take a look at 1895's The Execution of Mary, Queen of Scots. To make the monarch's beheading look real, the actor first knelt at the chopping block, then the director stopped filming, and a dummy was placed where the actor was. When they resumed filming, the executioner chopped off the dummy's head.
However, the integration of computers within the film industry would forever change how visual effects were used in film and open up all new possibilities to the artists creating these effects. The first ever feature-length film to use digitally created visual effects, or CGI, was Westworld. And no, not the one you're thinking of. We're talking about the original 1973 Westworld, which used digital image processing to pixelate photography to simulate the point of view of the android played by Yul Brynner. Now, there are many in-depth videos that go into great detail explaining how the Westworld VFX team accomplished this historic goal and the overall history of CGI in general. If that's something you're personally interested in, I would recommend checking out these videos, as that's something I will not be covering in my video for time constraint reasons. Speaking of which, Let's skip ahead to the 21st century. This is the time period that most people would agree that film CGI hit its peak, and it's easy to see why. It seemed that every major movie in the 2000s was pushing the limit of what the technology was capable of, and in the process giving audiences unforgettable cinematic experiences. The Star Wars and Lord of the Rings trilogies, Transformers, Pirates of the Caribbean, and countless others all brought these settings to life in ways we never thought possible. It seemed as though no marvelous world or fantastic creature was impossible to make convincingly real. No film embodies this more than James Cameron's Avatar, a movie that's greatest claim to fame is its brilliant use of visual effects and CGI. Cameron and his VFX team had to shelve the Avatar project for close to 15 years just so the technology could catch up to Cameron's vision. Avatar was released in theaters in 2009. That was 15 years ago. So the question is, how did we go from that to the CGI we have today?
Surprised to see me?
What the hell is even that?
How exactly did we get to this point? Well, it's due to a number of reasons. However, there are three main causes that I personally believe to be the biggest reason that modern CGI sucks.
What the hell happened here?
Number 1. Rushing out projects and last-minute reshoots. In the past, VFX teams had more time to work on projects. This allowed the teams to give more attention to details that improve the overall quality of the visual effects. Directors and their cinematography teams had time to plan and map out their CGI-heavy scenes ahead of time, so the VFX teams knew exactly what to expect and how to make those shots work before they ever got the footage. Additionally, it was pretty rare to reshoot a scene with heavy visual effects due to the fact that it took a longer amount of time and cost more money to work on those shots. Unfortunately, the opposite is true today. Studios rush out films at a pace that VFX teams can simply not keep up with. To further add to the problem, studios are constantly making changes to the script that force last-minute reshoots that are then handed off to the VFX teams to rush out and finish with little to no time before the film is set to release. None are more guilty of these terrible practices than Marvel Studios.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Marvel had a fantastic run in the 2010s. This naturally led Disney CEOs to make the most predictable of decisions and mandate Marvel up their quantity output. So now VFX teams are trying to tackle all of these projects that are coming out one after another and don't have the time necessary to put out a proper product. Okay, so let's take a look at the second cause I personally believe to be the downfall of CGI. Number 2, lack of practical effects. Digital VFX are like frosting on an already baked cake. It adds so much to the flavor, but it's not that great on its own. CGI should be used to enhance practical effects, not replace them. We all can subconsciously tell when a scene is full CGI with no actual shots underneath it. It ends up feeling like an animated movie. For example, let's look at Black Panther. The character T'Challa made his debut in the MCU in Captain America: Civil War, and due to his immense popularity, he soon after got his own solo film. Now, for this example, let's take a look at two different fight scenes involving Black Panther. The first is from Civil War, and the second is from his solo film. When watching the fight in Civil War, it's clear that this is a practical fight scene that was shot with actual stuntmen. Now, in contrast to this, let's watch the final fight from Black Panther's solo film pitting T'Challa against Killmonger. Do you see how it doesn't look quite as good or realistic? You have one fight that was actually shot with real actors who have weight behind their punches and natural movements to build the visual effects off of, versus a fight that is completely generated from a computer that is weightless. Our brains notice these things even if it's subconsciously. We notice that there is no force behind a punch and can tell when there is no weight behind a fall. All of this leaves the scene looking rather flat and the viewer with a slight case of the uncanny valley effect, where an object object looks like a human, but is slightly off. So as you can see, the use of practical shots and effects is very important for bringing characters to life with digital visual effects. Now, finally to end this point, let's take a listen to this old clip of one of the lead VFX artists who worked on Spider-Man 2 almost 20 years ago, explaining his thoughts on CGI with practical effects.
You know, on the first Spider-Man, when I first started doing it, the first time I had him jump off the ground, 30 feet in the air to a wall, my first reaction was, this will never work. You have to go into a different world. You have to change your mindset to work with it. But it's hard to get there in the beginning because you're so attached to the physical world and how believable this character can be. And I've always said that we have to make that character incredible, but not unbelievable. What the actor can't do, a stuntman does, and what a stuntman can't do, the CG model does.
There's some stuff that just can't be accomplished any other way. Spider-Man swinging through the city 20 or 30 stories up. There's not really another way to accomplish that.
Hopefully one feathers into the other, blends into the other in ways where you aren't taken out of the picture, in the sense that you still believe it's the same actor going through the motions.
Now, the third and final reason why CGI has fallen off so hard in recent years is rather simple. There's just too much of it. I mean, think about it. Just about every movie or TV show has some level of digital visual effects. Now, while we had a ton of blockbuster movies in the 2000s that were chocked full of CGI, we also had even more that didn't. Tell me this. How often do you see romantic comedies, mystery thrillers, or some sort of slasher film in theaters? Not very often. Not to say that they don't exist, just that there are far fewer of them. Most movies today either fall into the three categories of an epic sci-fi fantasy, a superhero movie, or a 3D animated film. All of these are CGI heavy. So more and more studios want large amounts of VFX work done in their movies, and there simply aren't enough VFX teams to handle the workload. It's simple supply and demand. Right now, the demand for VFX is high, but the teams behind it are in short supply. Okay, so now that we've addressed the problems plaguing the digital VFX industry and how films got to this point, the question we are left with is, how do we get back on track? Well, the answer is pretty straightforward. Simply reverse the course of these bad practices that have been rampant across film and television for the last decade. Slow down the output of movies, stop doing major last-minute reshoots, go back to using practical effects with the CGI. Oh, and most importantly, treat your VFX artists like human beings rather than robots you can work into the ground.
You serious?
If Hollywood were to make these simple changes, then we would not only see a return to the level of quality that films had back in the day, but we would honestly surpass it. Because the truth is, the technology has gotten better, and VFX artists today have more tools at their disposal than any of the artists had back in the day. The visual effects teams of today just need more time to give audiences the type of unforgettable cinematic experiences we all know they're capable of. So to end, I'll just say this. Movies are like magic. We all know they're fake, but we let ourselves get swept up in the experience of seeing things we know aren't possible. And just like magic, it ruins the fun when the magician botches the trick right in front of us. Now, this was a different type of video than what I usually do, and if you enjoyed it and would like to see more, please let me know down in the comments section below. Again, guys, please go check out the Patreon. The link is in the description and pinned in the comments section. And there are bonuses for every tier, so feel free to check it out. Also, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell to be notified when I upload my next video, and I'll see you in the next one.